So Marvin Bagley.
Are we really starting the podcast with Marvin Bagley?
Yeah, we are. We are starting the podcast with Marvin Bagley because I thought that game was over. I really did. And he didn't play at all in the first half. I think he clocked in maybe the 8 or 9 minute mark going into the second quarter. And I was like, okay, let's see what Bagley has to, do against the Suns. And man, he cooked. He absolutely cooked, for the second half of that game. And I was really surprised that he dropped 25.
Yeah, he had, I'm trying to pulling up his numbers right now, 25 and 7. Why does he always look more motivated when, I don't know, there's we're going to get into it a little bit later on the podcast, but every time it seems like we're counting him out. Well, maybe not you, but maybe me and some other fans, where we're like, oh, Marvin Bagley's time in Detroit, it might be coming up and it might be over with. He might just be getting real comfortable sitting on the bench. He just decides to show up. I mean, it's a meaningless game, but it looked good for him. But I just wish he would play not even the 25 points. That was great, but I just wish he showed that aggression, that hustle, and just that type of game and that type of energy every day. It doesn't have to be 25 points, but man, making yourself an option offensively, finishing around the rim, just playing winning basketball. I just would love to see that from him every game. And I don't know, maybe he should always be with one foot out the door, it seems like. I don't know.
No, I think it's just competition, honestly. If you remember, the Pistons traded for Wiseman while he was injured.
Yeah.
And he just kind of had to sit there on the bench watching last year James Wiseman get his rotation spot. And I think it's kind of lit a fire under him because ever since he did come back from injury last season and today, I mean, he just played aggressive. It seems like everything he shot went in. I think he had a 1 3-pointer today, and it looked cash. I do want to give him a shout out, and I also want to give out a shout out to Stanley Amude, who I thought played really well, and I do have a take about him, and it does involve Isaiah Livers. If Isaiah Livers cannot stay healthy, I would not be surprised if the Pistons look at Stanley Amude.
I don't know. I think those is, as much as I love Isaiah Livers, but Joe Harris, he shot the ball pretty well, and he was the fourth spot behind Isaiah Stewart. So maybe Harris gets those minutes. Maybe Beef Jerky Joe, maybe he's in. I mean, that shooting is so valuable, especially with Bojan sidelined. But yeah, Stanley Amude. I didn't get to watch the fourth quarter. I watched quarters 1, 2, and 3. I was driving back home from Grand Rapids, and I did have the stream on in my car. I was just listening to it like it was a radio broadcast, and I did hear his name pop up. And I'm looking at the box score: 12 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists. Really made his name known. You've talked about him quite a bit on this podcast because you follow the Motor City Cruise because you actually do work with them. So it's nice to see it. He showed up.
Yeah, it's so funny. That's exactly what he does when he's playing for the Crews. He's just that energy guy off the bench that can, switch defensively, give you effort, and he just loves those corner threes. And he's a really underrated passer. And he did have a pass to, I believe, Asar in the corner to the tie of the game. So really happy for him that he showed out, and I'm sure a lot of Pistons fans are probably looking him up today. Maybe the casual Pistons fan doesn't know about him, but he's a really good player, and I'm happy he did get a roster spot. But Alan actually asked a question, and I think you kind of answered it, but he said Bagley coming off the bench could keep that fire burning in him. So I think so. I do personally. I think if he does come off the bench backing up Jalen Duren, I think it could keep that fire, motivated, because you don't want Wiseman taking your spot at the end of the day. But what do you think about that?
Yeah, I've always said I think coming off the bench is the perfect role for him anyway. So, because he's really talented offensively. Like, he's real smooth. Like, he gives Cade and the other guards a lob threat. Like, I tweeted out that it's Lob City with Marvin Bagley on the floor. And I mean, because I think his first 2 baskets were lobs from Cade. He looks great off the bench. I think what keeps the fire going is having a second number 2 overall pick behind him. And he always has to constantly look over his shoulder because Marvin Bagley is super talented, but I think it's fair enough to say he has not lived up to the billing of being the number 2 overall pick, especially being drafted before Luka Doncic and Trae Young. I mean, you got to play outstanding for that, for that to be erased from people's memories. I just think what really, other than having James Wiseman right behind him, just knowing that there's only going to be a few more opportunities for him to really be an NBA player. So you have to make the most of it right now. I think he's 24 years old right now. You're not 19, you're not 20, you're not 21, where people are like, okay, we can give him a little bit more time. Now you're 24. You're just a couple years away from entering your prime. You should be getting another large contract coming up. You have to earn it now. You're not going to, it's not, we're past the point where things are going to be given to him. And I think that's what keeps the fire burning more than just him coming off the bench. But because I think coming off the bench is the perfect role for him.
Yeah, I know. I think we both said it. Like, Marvin Bagley in short spurts is perfect for this team. As you give him like around 15 to 20 minutes a night, he's going to get you that 14 and 7. I think tonight he had 25 and 7 and shot 10 out of 14 from the field and knocked down 50% of his threes tonight. I think that role's perfect for him. I think him backing up Duran, to me, I absolutely think it's a perfect fit. You know me, I wanted to give James Wiseman a chance, but I think just in today's game, and I know it's, the first game of the preseason, but I think Bagley to me is more assertive, more aggressive, and Wiseman, while I was looking at the game today, watching the game, just kind of seems unsure of what to do, when to be aggressive, when not to be aggressive. Should I be here? Should I pass it? Should I post up? Should I grab that rebound? I think it's just still reps with him, and I do think there's a role on this team for him, especially with the foul trouble that we did have today. When you get in that much foul trouble, you're probably going to get some playing time. But I do think Wiseman still will get some playing time this season. I just think as of right now, after today's game, Bagley is kind of just the way he's played today. I think that it was very encouraging to see that we don't really have to worry about that, backup spot.
Yeah, I've been saying all week that the backup 5 spot, we'll get into this a little bit more, but I've been saying all week on Twitter, the backup 5 spot, I would give it to James Wiseman. But for a while now, I've been saying Marvin Bagley is more valuable in 22 minutes versus 28 minutes. And he really showed it in the 22 minutes he played today, 25 and 7. He looked great. And if he can just keep that fire burning, like Alan said, let him get all the minutes at the backup 5 spot. I'd be perfectly fine with it. If he just showed up, again, doesn't have to be 25 and 7, but if he can just show up and make himself known on the floor and make himself a threat, I'm okay with it. Give him all of the backup 5 spots.